All right. So, these combined 11 points, combined by the method of Sangha and the method of Shantideva. So the first point is equanimity, meaning we stop to look at people like enemies and friends and strangers. Now, a friend in the worldly sense is somebody who benefits me, who doesn't harm me, who agrees with me, who fulfills my need. That's usually the friend in worldly terms. A friend in spiritual terms is somebody that I have friendly feelings towards that person, but are not based on what the person does. Usually, you know, this is why friends, enemies, enemy maybe is a strong word, antagonist maybe, but somebody who gets on my nerves. Yeah, because enemy is really strong. So usually these warm feelings that we have towards others, they're good. So please, again, I need this lady there who tends to go too far with the ego. She's the dentist. Yeah. So anyway, maybe I'll just continue. So equanimity, it doesn't mean that you have totally no feelings anymore towards people. It doesn't mean that. So you're not kind of stopping to be cautious when somebody's out to harm you, and you're not stopping your friendly feelings towards the ones that you like, or the ones who fulfilled your needs. What it means is that you start to see how that changes all the time, because we have a tendency to put the people into these three categories. These ones we call friends. Yeah, you all have friends. Why do you call them friends? Because I like them, we would say. Why do you like them? Because they're nice to me.
They make me feel nice.
They're nice to me, they agree with me, they fulfill my needs, they're friendly, they don't harm me, I can trust them. This is what we usually say, I can trust them. Wow, and then they do something and friend is finished and actually becomes your worst enemy, because why? Because your trust was totally, they say it was like used or something, then we feel really hurt. You see, if somebody harms you that you don't like, you feel much less hurt than by somebody that you trusted. Yeah? So it doesn't mean that you should distrust your friends, but it's also we have to become quite realistic about expectations. You know, I have an expectation, not me, usually this I don't have anymore. Usually ordinary people have an expectations that if I have chosen you as a friend, and very often these friends, they don't even know it. You know, sometimes people look at me, and when they meet me, they say, oh, this is Ani Losang, is my friend. And then I go like, I didn't know that. But in their mind, I am their friend, so therefore they have these expectations that I should be nice to them, and I should recognize them next time I see them. I should fulfill their needs and all this. And if I maybe don't recognize them, they feel terribly hurt. So a friend in spiritual terms can be anybody. It can be somebody who harms you. But you have friendly feelings towards that person, meaning I don't want that person to be unhappy. I want that person to be well. If the person is dangerous for you, you keep away, but you can still cultivate these feelings and you will suffer much less. Because every time you hear that this person that you dislike is well and happy, you become terribly unhappy. So you're totally under the control, actually, of this person. Then when you hear the person suffers, you're happy, which creates a lot of negative karma because it's perverse happiness. It's not the happiness that you want as a spiritual practitioner. Yeah? An enemy, in worldly terms, is somebody that harms you. Somebody who is not nice to you. Somebody who doesn't treat you the way you decided how you want to be treated. Yeah? As an enemy in spiritual terms is somebody that you harm or you want to harm. Somebody that you have unfriendly feelings towards. So this is why when they say the bodhisattvas have no enemies, That's the one saying, right? So then we hear, oh, great, so therefore I become a bodhisattva, I generate bodhicitta, then nobody will harm me. It's not like that. You know, people might still harm you because why? Because it's your karmic residues that are still there. You still carry them along with you, and so they just become the condition. They're not the cause, right? So this is something you have control over, not like this, but you can cultivate. The human being is the only species, I don't know about gods and demigods, but definitely a species that we know that can consciously develop a good heart by working on it. We can have spontaneous good heart, and this is what we want. And then we say, well, if it's not spontaneous, it's fabricated, I don't want it. But it's this thing, if you can't be kind, pretend to be kind. You will become kind. Because you start to bring up your positive side that is naturally there. Yeah? But in order to bring it up, we have to use reasoning. Yeah? So the reasoning that we use in equanimity is that a lot of, and this is also psychology who says, like from anger, 80% of reasoning comes from that side, not from this side, you know, from my side, kind of. The anger is like why, the projection, the situation and all this. Meaning is 80% exaggerated, right?
At least.
Huh? At least. Yeah, and if you work with people who are angry, then we can see it. This is it. If you're a therapist and you hear what these angry people are saying, the story that they're telling, sometimes you go like, come on, it's time to let go, or let it be, or it can't be. It's not so bad. Whereas if it happens to us, then it's like really big. One point in Dharamsala, somebody got bitten by a monkey, and so I was asked, was it bad? I said, no, it was just a scratch. And the person said, oh, I can see he didn't bite you. I said, well, it's true, because if it would be me, it would be like, yeah, look, big, bah, 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 you know, big story. So this is how we are. When we see it from the distance, we have the right distance, and we see it in a much more reasonable way than when it's right here. Yeah? So with the friends, what we project, we have warm feelings towards the friends, okay? So that feels good. But we project that they will always be here for us. We project that they always will fulfill my needs. I love you so much. Is why? Because you bring good feelings up in me, that's all. And if you start to behave in a different way, then I go find somebody else who brings these feelings up again. It's not that we want the people, we want the good feelings. Because an open heart, because it's our nature, feels good, right? So again, we think that the good feeling comes from the friend. No, it's because that friend, until now, has not hurt you and has fulfilled your needs. Or maybe it wasn't even put under the trial. See, my mom also, she was, I don't know why she had children, but she didn't really care about us. She didn't harm us, but she also didn't care about us. So when they say in psychology a child needs some kind of healthy attachment to feel secure, or secure attachment, I think they call it, yeah? So I chose the neighbor. Our neighbor. I just infiltrated myself into that family. I was very polite. I was not naughty because I didn't want to be thrown out. You know, you don't think like this. This is your children wisdom, that you know I need grown-up people, and you just do it. And I loved that woman very much, and I put my secure attachment onto her. It was never put to trial. I never really needed her, but because I had this, a projection upon her, I grew up okay.
She was a nice woman then?
She was an okay woman, actually. She wasn't...
She wasn't that nothing?
She was just a mother, and she didn't mind me being there. Because I was nice. I helped her. I was nicer than her children. So, yeah. I was polite. I obeyed when she said something because I wanted not to be thrown out. So actually, I think we should exchange children, because when they are with other people, they behave much better than with their own parents, isn't it? Huh?
Out of fear of being thrown out.
Exactly.
Or shame.
Yeah, out of fear. No, out of self-concern. And it's quite healthy self-concern, because it's beneficial for both sides, in a way. Yeah. So that's calculating, but we can use that calculating mind sometimes in a very good way. Now the friend is finished when they stop to fulfill your need. I don't know what would happen if, you know, I would have gotten sick and she wouldn't have time to look after me. I don't know what would have gotten, but it never happened. So this is what we're trying to see, this black line around the friend, the enemy, and the person who is not interesting. They're only coming from my side. I put them there, and they're totally unstable. Like also somebody that you dislike, you can actively, and this is difficult, because this here, the ego doesn't want to do it. In order to change that negative feeling that you have towards the person, you know what I'm talking about. When somebody gets on your nerve, the moment the person is in the room, you feel uncomfortable. Do you know that? So who suffers the most? It's you. So this is what we first have to see. You see, this aversion seems totally justified, totally normal. Everybody follows it, and it becomes deeper and deeper and deeper. So first it was big things that got on your nerves. A little later on, it's small things, and then, you know, further down the line, and you get like, you blow your fuses. Tu pètes les plombs. Like that. So we do analytical meditation on the how to say that in English? On the unattractiveness of the person. When aversion is there, there's like a filter. And then what the mind adds, this gestaltende mind here, what it adds is unpleasantness, unattractiveness, ugly. The unpleasant feeling comes from there. It's his or her fault. It's not my mind who is seeing it like this. Yeah? And the filter is like here. We don't see it. You know, the spider appears totally natural, really sitting there on top. And we don't see it, but we can start to, with the mind, we can start to analyze. Here we start to analyze by opening it, by seeing that the spider is sitting on the bottom. With the mind, first we see who is suffering the most is me. Then I become very unpleasant when this person wants something from me. Now, especially as a bodhisattva. You see, before it's like, yeah, you're a spiritual practitioner, okay, you work for your own enlightenment, whatever. But here you start to decide to liberate all sentient beings from all suffering. So you cannot allow yourself to keep these minds into your mind stream, because it goes totally against what you decided. So this is why also our minds are so confused. So up in the head we have decided to be honest, to be generous, to be patient, to be kind. Then the way we behave is like we cheat wherever we can with taxes and all these things. I don't know, maybe you don't. When we could give something, we give as little as possible. When we could practice patience, we get angry and we run away. And when we could be kind, we don't feel like it, we go home alone. But here we have decided something different. So there's no wonder we are so confused. So you need to know what you want. So if you want to live your anger, then say, okay, I want to keep my anger, but then don't listen to these teachings because it goes against what you wanted. Yeah? Do you see what I mean? Do you understand?
I do, except for the meditation part you just talked about, because I thought that when you meditate on an enemy, that you don't analyze, but you try to bring up the compassionate feelings that you have towards the one.
Yeah, but this is very big, you know. First you even out your feeling. First you make it neutral. Otherwise it's like putting something really nice on something really stinky. Yeah? Yeah, first look at your own suffering, because otherwise you see again with our guilt that we carry along that we should be good people. Yeah? Then we try to do something against this aversion. We don't succeed. Yeah, maybe we succeed in the meditation, but then the person is here, then the good feeling is gone. Then we start to feel guilty. And then we even give, not just the negative, not just the aversion feeling, but also the guilty feeling, we kind of give it to that person. So it gets actually worse, This is when you do these things because you think it's a duty, because you think some Buddha said that you should do it, you do it because you want to please your guru, or whatever. If you really need to do them because you see how you suffer when you don't do it. You have to see your own suffering when you have aversion first. Then you have the self-interest wanting to get rid of it. And how do you think about it? I create a lot of negative karma. This person is bringing up my negative karma now by harming me. So then I'm purified, I'm finished, that karma is finished. So actually then he has to suffer because of that, because I had the negative karma to be harmed. So these are the things that you start to think. This is very, very, very high thinking. So this is why you don't start with this. It's far too high. You need to know the lower steps before, because otherwise you go into self-destruction. And that's not what we want. We want to grow up.
What is the lower, please?
Sorry?
What is the lower?
The lower, you think about the precious human rebirth, impermanence and death, samsara, karma, and you want to get out of... First you look after yourself. And you understand karma. The teachings on karma comes in the lower path. Law of cause and effect. You start to understand that. Whenever good happens to me, it's like my mind stream has done it before. Whatever negative happens to me, then also my mind stream has created it.
This approach is like confronting avoidance with yourself, confronting why do I feel this way, and what about it's the aversion, confronting the aversion. What about avoidance instead as a strategy? If this person, I find it difficult to be with this person, rather than confront why, maybe I just avoid this person.
Yeah.
He doesn't get hurt by the fact that I haven't had to say anything unpleasant or anything, and I just avoid the problem.
That's always the first step. It's very good. That's the first thing. If there's a lot of attachment, if there's a lot of aversion, separate yourself from the object. Because it's the object that brings it up. And then analyze the feelings. Because just avoidance is a good thing, but it's still like the habit still remains. So when you see the person again, because we actually want to come to a place where we don't have any aversion anymore. So for that, we can actively work with it. So we know how to take it apart. For example, the best way is you feel aversion towards the person. Even the person is there. If you have the opportunity, a few minutes, you come inside, you feel that feeling, you take the story away from the sensation, or the I. You take the I out of the story, it will collapse. And then you see that something that appeared to be so solid actually is not solid at all. Yeah. And this again, this equanimity part is very, very difficult. Once you have that, the others come fairly easy. But we are constantly between I like, I dislike, I'm not interested. And all of these states of mind are not clear because they exaggerate. The I like, they put positive sides there which are not there. Especially I can trust this person forever. That's definitely not true. There's nobody you can trust 100%. Nobody. You know? Maybe it looks like that because they never disappointed you until you died, but it's like you were just lucky, I would say. Yeah? Everybody can let you down at any moment. You know, husbands killing their wives or wives killing their husbands or things like that. It doesn't have to be terrorists. But at one point, they loved each other so much that they decided to get married. Have you heard of these stories? Yeah, happens all over the world. Yeah. So this is like we want to see the exaggeration of this whole thing, the filter. And once you take the story away and you take the I out of the negative feeling, it collapses very, very quickly. Yeah. So this is why when you start to feel a negative emotion come up, the first thing is always you pause, you look. You're not looking at the object, you look inside.
Log
Yeah?
of wood, Shantideva.
Huh?
Log of wood.
Yeah, you become like a piece of wood, but not just a piece of wood. You look inside, you pause. What's going on? How do I feel? Yeah, and already that brings some peace. Then you apply some antidote. Then you change perspective also. You go into the other person's side. How do I appear to this other person? What's my part in this whole thing? And especially about karma, you know. If you understand karma, especially about what is my part in this. Then the next one is like, then you start to see the substancelessness of these emotions that feel solid like a brick if you don't examine them. And then if you take out the I and the story, then you see their emptiness. So like this, these are kind of the steps. When you're very good with these steps, as a bodhisattva, you actually put yourself on purpose into difficult situations so that every time you can dissolve one of these feelings, your conviction that they're not truly existing from their own side becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. And you have better, you get better and better and better at the method of dissolving that negative feeling. The person is still there, you're still there, they're still making mistake, or they're still kind of harming others or whatever. But if you then try to do something about it, you're not doing it with anger, aversion, and aggression, but with wisdom and compassion. So that's the goal, basically. And for that, we need people to train with. Yeah. So this is first step, to get everybody out, like on the same level. Everybody deserves happiness. Everybody doesn't want to suffer. I'm just like everybody else. The second point, yeah.
I have a question. When you say the story,
Yeah.
you refer to the interpretation we give to what happened.
He hurt me because with this. Yeah. This is like, scratching the wound open again and again and again and again. You take off the bandage and you go and look, I wonder, no, it's still not healed. And look, underneath is this and underneath is this. All these stories that we keep repeating. Yeah. Or the Buddha has this example of the poisoned arrows. Poisoned arrow hits you and then it falls to the ground. And then that's it, maybe you die, but maybe also it heals. But no, we're picking up the arrow again and again and again. The arrow is not being shot anymore. You're picking up again and you go like, oh yes, it hurts. Wow, it's terrible. By repeating these stories again and again and again and again and again to keep this aversion and hatred alive. Because otherwise it dies down. Yeah. And you can see it in yourself. When somebody has harmed you, you have this urge to tell somebody. And maybe the person doesn't have time to listen to you. You meet the person again a month later, and they ask you, what happened? And you say, it's not important. Means you have let go. And then you start to see the reality of it. It's not as bad as I thought it was then. But at the beginning, we have this urge. Everybody needs to know. Because why? Because we know it's not realistic what we're saying, so we need witnesses who agree with us. And if you have ever tried to calm somebody down who is angry by saying, but the person also has good sides, isn't it? Then they get really angry. So agree with them so that they can calm down. It's also kind of avoidance, Instead of giving them the right picture, which is only your picture, because there is no right picture to the story, because everything is subjective, right? So if somebody comes full of anger, you just agree with them. You say, yeah. They can calm down, and then maybe you can try to give them another perspective. As long as they're up, there's no way.
It's skillful means.
Yeah, this is skillful means.
Knowing when to say what.
But our ego I, who is convinced that my perspective is the right perspective, does not want to wait until the other person has calmed down. It needs to be now.
Yeah, not only to tell somebody else, but also to educate the person who...
Yeah, we think that by shouting at them, telling them how bad they are, they will change. Well, it's not like that. Okay, that's the first one. This is the most difficult one. There is very specific meditations, and that comes again and again and again. The next point is seeing all beings having been your mother. Now, of course, if you're not a Buddhist, you don't believe in rebirth, that does not work. Well, let go of it.
So there's only 10 points.
Yeah, I mean, this is for Buddhists. Lama Tsongkhapa, he was teaching people who were wanting to do that. He didn't bring methods for people who don't actually want to study it and are not happy with it, but still want something. So,
can you not be a Buddhist if you don't believe in past
Huh?
rebirth? Can you not be a Buddhist if you don't believe in rebirth?
okay, belief in rebirth. If you say, like, I'm convinced there's no rebirth, 100% convinced, you can use the methods, but how are you going to attain enlightenment?
What is Buddhist?
Yeah, what is a Buddhist? What is a Buddhist?
I don't know, you said like it's only for Buddhists.
Want to take refuge?
Yeah, when you accept the 4 seals.
Yeah, that's also one.
That's what makes you a Buddhist.
Yeah.
And when you start to believe these methods. I think so. I mean, but you can practice all these things. But saying I am a Buddhist means I believe that I have the potential to be totally free from all suffering. For that I have to work. And one lifetime is not enough. If you think that at the time of death everything is finished, then yeah, use these methods to generate kindness, compassion, even wisdom also, that's fine. That's fine. But I don't think you could call yourself a Buddhist, but that's fine. Not everybody has to be Buddhist. Yeah? This is the nice thing about this whole thing. You can use all the methods, and whatever you don't like, you just leave it out. That's it. There's no need to discuss. This is what I'm saying. You know, it's fine for me. You don't believe in rebirth? It's totally fine for me. I respect your views. This is your view. That's okay. But then don't try to go into discussion, because if you try to go into discussion, of course I'm kind of giving you my view. But I don't want to force you to accept that view. Yeah? Okay. So all beings, your mother, which is because I give you the Buddhist view, then you want to accept it or not accept it. It's entirely up to you. That's fine. So our mind needs a cause to exist right now. Now, the cause, the substantial cause for the mind is the cause before, and the cause before, and the cause before, and the cause before. And therefore they say there is no beginning to rebirth. Also the mind cannot stop. It will not, be snuffed out. The same way as nothing can really stop. I mean, if this flower is not a flower anymore, it will not disappear 100%. You cannot have something and then nothing. There's only transformation.
Energy.
Huh?
It's like energy.
Like-
Energy never stops. Energy transforms.
Yeah, of this flower. It goes into the ground, makes earth, makes flowers again, and so forth. Energy, whatever you want to call it. There is a continuum in all the material things, and this we know. So the same is for the mind. So we can transform the mind into a mind that is free from all suffering, a Buddha's mind, with these methods, or we can remain the way we are, sometimes happy, sometimes sad, being reborn again and again and again and again without any control, being controlled by, without me having control, but being controlled with karma and delusion. But I know rebirth is a big thing for many people. So it's only kind of, as for a Buddhist who says, I don't believe in rebirth, it would be a wrong view. And they say it's actually one of the worst ones. Not believing in cause and effect, not believing in rebirth, not believing in your Buddha potential, that prevents you from seeking enlightenment. So, but it becomes a wrong view when you are 100% convinced that is no rebirth. Then, if you say, well, I don't know, maybe there is, maybe there's not, that's okay. That's fine. And then I would just encourage everybody who has this view there's no rebirth to really sit down quietly and think, so what do I think will happen? Am I coming from, is this mind coming from somewhere? Does it go somewhere? What is my view on this? Just, I don't know. It's an important thing in our life. So check, examine. But it's not because one believes in rebirth, one says, no, this life I don't have to do something, I do it next life. It's in this life that you create the next lives. Okay? So, you see, I don't know if this view of rebirth is true or not. I believe it. And this belief helps me very much to be careful about my actions now. Because otherwise we become like the people who drive on the highway, or maybe not everybody drives. Otherwise we become like, now you can't in Israel because you have to go to the barrier. You can't go on the bus. You can go on the bus without paying your ticket, is it? You just go in the middle, not in the front. You could. Yeah? You could.
Sometimes you could.
Huh?
In some buses you could.
You can.
You can, yes.
Okay, that's all I need. Then you're sitting there, kind of a bit nervous, but still, and then you get out and nobody caught you and you think it's okay, isn't it? Or you drive too fast on the highway, there's no control, no photographs, nothing, you think it's okay. Our actions are not like this. There is camera everywhere and everything is is, there's, the hard disk is really big. So it keeps everything, and then at one point it will come back. So this whole thing about rebirth, it also helps me. It could be that it's just a consolation, as you say, yeah, but it works. When something negative happens to me, I also know, I need to stop doing this action if I don't like the result now. So if I'm being lied to and I'm lying, then I know if I don't want others to lie to me, I have to stop lying. If I'm being shouted at the whole time, I have to stop shouting at others. It will still make others shout at me now, but at least I know in the future it might be better. So if there's rebirth or no rebirth, but at least I become a non-shouting person, which I think is quite good, because shouting people in society, they're not very helpful. Or what do you think? Huh?
In Israel, Knesset, we have
Not just the Knesset, you only have to go to the street. You don't need to go to the Knesset. You know? Again, it's like, how do you like it when somebody shouts at you?
No, I hate it when they shout. I hate it. Like,
Huh?
I live in a crowded neighborhood, so like people shouting in the street is one of my worst enemies.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But also, the neighborhood is okay. They don't shout at you, they only shout. So why are you concerned? But I'm talking about when they shout at you personally, when they're angry at you. We lock up, we get frightened, we don't like it. But still, we do it to others. So when we see that, well, it's karma coming back, so then I make the decision, okay, the antidote is I need to stop that. So then at least for the future, so then I don't contribute to the shouting. Usually what we do, this is like fighting for peace, right? We try to stop the shouting with shouting. It's like, how is that going to work? But this is what our confused mind is doing. Okay, so this whole thing about all beings are mother, if you can't do anything with it, then that's fine, just leave it. And then the third point is we see the kindness of the mother. Because usually also, we are, as children, we're quite ready to take whatever they can give us, even as grown-ups when they have to help us to pay for the apartment. Because I just talked to somebody not so long ago also, he says, my daughter doesn't talk to me anymore because I can't help her to pay for the apartment that she wanted. So I thought, like, wow, I mean, she's grown up, come on. It's like, if she wants an apartment, then... Yeah, but now also in Switzerland, young people think the parents should pay for their driving license and for their first car and whatever. And then they get angry. So we're quite ready to take, but when our parents need us, when they're old, because when they're old, they're not as cute as babies anymore, and they become maybe demanding and bitter and in a bad mood, and they made pee-pee caca in their pants, the same as you did as children, but we're not ready to give them as many hours of our time that they gave us of their time when we were small. So this is what we think about when we think about the kindness of the mother. It is to bring up not a guilty feeling, but maybe the first step of feeling guilty, it might be a good thing to get our act together and say, wow, so many hours they spent with me playing these stupid games that alone they would never play. And on top of it, they were happy and they loved me and they didn't shout at me when, again, pee-pee caca in my pants. You see what I'm saying? If our friends would treat us the way we treat our parents sometimes, we would surely drop them as friends. Only wanting, isn't it? But our parents never drop us. I'm talking about parents who are mentally stable, pretty much okay. You see, the only person that you can trust, or the only people you can trust that they only want your good, even sometimes they're very unskillful, are your parents, your grandparents maybe also, and your guru. These are the only people that whenever they say something, even if it's clumsy and it doesn't help, but the motivation behind is to make you happy.
unconditional love.
Yeah. It's very conditioned. It's targeted onto you.
The best.
Yeah. It is conditioned. Not for the guru, but for the parents, because they don't give the same to others. Also, the parents would like something back. So they're not that unconditional, I would say. But still, as I'm saying, your friends, you would drop them if, they don't call you when you're sick, or they don't like you anymore and they neglect you and all this. You would drop them. You would not see them as friends anymore. Still, your parents will always have this concern for your happiness. Always. Isn't it? Sometimes they're very unskillful. I do recognize. So this is why here they take the mother. But it can also be a grandmother. It can also be a father. It can also be an uncle. It can also be, I don't know what, For me, at the beginning, I never took my mom. I took this woman. Until I was able to open up my heart towards my own mother by seeing. But when I was a baby, I wasn't able to go to that neighbor. So it's my mom who fed me, and it's my mom who cleaned my pee-pee caca. If she wouldn't have done it, I would have died. And that thing was for me then enough for this whole relationship towards my mother to change. I was able to let go of all the rest, what she did not give me, by concentrating on what she gave me, which was good. She gave me my life. She wasn't like me. I always, as young, I said, I don't want any children, they're a hassle. Because it's true. I wanted to have fun in life. I never had this, biological thing that, I'm a woman, I need children. I never had it. What can I do? Luckily, I didn't have them. I don't know how I would have treated them. You see, there are women who don't like their children. Mine was one of them. I probably was afraid that I would be the same. This is why my biggest fear in having sexual relationship was getting pregnant. I would have aborted. Absolutely. Without any second thought. I'm glad I never got pregnant. Now I'm really happy. But I never, ever wished for children. So if I would have had children because it's normal, not sure how I would have treated them. Not sure. So I think it's a good thing I didn't have any. Anyway, there's enough children already in the world. There's enough people in the world. Whether I had 2 or 3 also, that doesn't really make any difference. Then the third is seeing the kindness of the mother, but it can be somebody else who kept you alive, who were kind to you.
Did you choose your father as an example for love?
No, there was too much attachment there. My father was very attached to my dad, because why? Because he didn't live with us, and so he was, in my eyes, the perfect dad until I started working with him. So I saw that it was like, he wasn't kind to me. He was out earning money. So I couldn't, anyway.
Like, why can you not use your parents if you have too many attachments? Like, I have great attachment to my dad, and we have a great relationship. Why can I could use him for a mandala offering. Why can I not use it?
Because you want to spread that good feeling on everybody else. Again, don't isolate these steps. Okay? Why do we, here is like the second step is seeing all beings as your mother. That means you need that, then you do, like you try to have the same open heart to all beings like you have towards your dad or towards your mother. When it's attachment, again, it's kind of, this is what I'm saying, I had in my eyes the perfect dad until I really got to know him. So now that doesn't mean it goes for you, it only goes for me. This is why sometimes these personal questions doesn't work for everybody, you see. And then I actually started to dislike him because he wasn't the way I thought he was. So this is why I didn't take him. Anyway, it's okay. But you see, attachment is dangerous because attachment has, you need to be like this, then I will love you.
And only for you.
Huh?
And only for you.
Yeah, only for you.
But
But it sounds like the perfect example of what happens outside. That you think of someone something, and then he does something else, and your mind changes because your mind was biased in the beginning.
Mm.
So it can happen to us with our parents. It can happen to us with everybody. So all sentient beings were our mothers anyway. So we are attached to sentient beings. We are attached to our parents.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really.
Well, for me, this is what I'm saying, it's a personal thing. It just didn't seem appropriate to take my dad, okay? So, but you are very welcome to take your father. You can take this is why I said, you can take your grandmother, take anybody.
If it's inspiring, why not?
Yeah, so I just...
No, I'm not sure what the parents' example should set.
the way they care for you, whether you give them something back or not. This is what we're trying to do here with the mother. Because in general, it is the mother who gets up night after night after night after night. In general, it is the mother who has the most courage to protect you. And we see it when there's danger. Where do they run? To the mother, not to the dad. Yeah, it's the mother is always the last instant, kind of, when nobody can do anything. Then, in general, not necessarily, but in general, and it seems to be changing actually.
You know that Geshe Tenzin Zohar talked about his enough. You read his lesson when there was a lady that talked about the horrible feelings she had towards her mother. And the way he talked about, he said, okay, if you have a troubled mom or anything, don't think of her after, just think of her until the minute she gave birth. When she carried you for 9 months, she wanted to be a good mother. She carried you for 9 months, and then she gave birth. Unfortunately, what happened later. It was, so think about these 9 months and the kindness you experienced,
Exactly.
And
so maybe you see it in the next point why we think like this. When we recognize the kindness of somebody else, we have a natural wish to repay it. Not because out of duty, not because we're afraid to lose their love or whatever, just a natural wish. It's a natural human emotion. But when we don't recognize the kindness, then, because we don't recognize the kindness of the parents actually. This is why we are able, very cold-blooded, to neglect them when they're old and when they need us. And going to see them seems a burden. Isn't it? So this is trying actually in this life already to dissolve that a little bit. Could, but that's not the reason, because seems that people in ancient times didn't have this problem with their parents, because parents would stay at home. Parents were highly respected. All people were highly respected in Asia,
That was out of fear. That wasn't out of...
Not necessarily. It's a cultural thing. It's like you learn to respect your parents, and that is it. The way they look at their grandma, the way they kiss their feet, it's so beautiful to see.
But they were beaten up and they...
Not everybody.
Also in the Sephardic families.
He
in
was beaten by his father and still he had...
Okay, for whatever reason it is, because otherwise we don't continue. For whatever reason it is, the respect for old people is definitely bigger in the East than it is in the West. Okay? That's all. So this is what I mean, it's like, it seems like these methods, maybe we have to totally change them. Maybe I shouldn't even have started with these 11 points, because usually with the mother, I leave it alone. But because what you gave me is these 11 points, so I have to do the 11 points. Usually I only do the exchange self for others, because it's much easier for people to understand. But it's good to talk about it still, because we have so many hang-ups with our parents. Yeah? We have so many expectations on our parents, how they should be, so that we can actually then repay that kindness. Isn't it? Is it not like this, or is it like that? Yeah. We don't recognize the kindness of them. This is why it makes it so difficult for us to go and visit them when they're not anymore the way I want them to be, when they're grumpy and old and this and that and discontent, because they are. Yeah? So we don't see the suffering anymore. We can't bear it. If we go and visit an old woman or an old man who is not my mother, it's not so difficult actually, isn't it? But I don't want to have this mother. As if it's contagious. It's not contagious. Yeah? This whole thing, I didn't like it. I didn't like the teachings, but it changed my relationship to my mother. I was able to accept her the way she was. So for me, it worked wonder, even though I also argued, boof, I didn't want to recognize it. Okay, repaying the kindness, that would be the next. Don't forget, we're still developing bodhicitta. We're still on the way of becoming somebody who wants to liberate unconditionally all beings from their suffering. So here we're kind of arguing about this and that and that. How are we going to ever get there? How? Yeah. Let go of all this. This is all kind of
Psychological.
this is all the mind, the ego, who doesn't want to do it. So, then you see this whole thing. Do I want to go on this? You don't have to. In order to be liberated from suffering, you don't have to become a bodhisattva. So you need to be clear, do I want it or not? And this is also, I think in Shantideva's maybe 4th chapter or 5th, I can't remember where. Once you really made the decision that you want this, it becomes much easier. But as long as you're kind of resisting, of course it's difficult. So, and I don't want to convince you of anything. I'm only giving you the points for how you should think. Then whether you want to think like this is up to you. Okay. And when we see here in the 4th point, repaying the kindness, it's not just the kindness of the mothers. Whew. So now you can think about all the people who make your clothes, all the people who make your food, all the dentists who have studied very hard and very long so that they can fix your teeth. Imagine how your body would look without doctors, without dentists, without people who make glasses, how your life would look. Most of us would be dead. Some of us would be dead. Some of us would have no teeth. I would not be able to read anymore. Also, I'm starting to get deaf, but the hearing aid doesn't work, unfortunately, so that doesn't help, but still, could have. For many people, it does help, the hearing aid. So we have this illusion of being healthy, but we're not. There's all this patchwork that went on in the body with people that studied very hard to do these very responsible jobs, because there, if they make a mistake, you go and sue them. Isn't it? And they, the newspaper, they made a mistake, this, that, yeah. It's difficult to be a doctor or a dentist. Top of it, I hear they're not getting well paid in this country. Huh? Okay, next step is equalizing yourself with others. Like now we go into these arguments of, why is my happiness more important than somebody else's happiness? Okay? And again, maybe I have to say, don't forget, these are just the first instructions that you receive. Nobody is asking you to be able to do this. We have to go through these points again and again and again and again and again and again. Don't put yourself under pressure that you have to be able to do this now.
But you cannot take the vows if you don't.
You shouldn't take the vows if you don't know the steps.
And the steps are part of the vows you take later, actually. Because equanimity, never, keeping
What vows are you talking about?
The 18,
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
So
Take Bodhisattva vow.
18.
Become
the
Bodhisattva.
18 ones.
Yeah.
When I took them, I didn't know I'm taking them.
So you
And
should
it was
understand
inspiring
very well
still.
before you take.
Well, yeah, this is what I mean. This is why we're doing this.
Not that clear to everyone. Yeah.
This is why we're doing this, so people that you know what you're getting into. This is why I said the Buddha taught 2 vehicles. It doesn't have to be Mahayana. But still, you can do it. This is it. Again, it's the lazy eye says, oh, well, too difficult. How can I do it? The vows, just the wish to be able to keep them. The aspiring bodhicitta, just the wish to be able to do that is at the beginning enough.
To find it, really, yeah.
Don't get too chicken. What, you want to stay in samsara? Don't you want to be of benefit? You see, this natural feeling that we have to be of benefit to others is another thing that we have. But we're unhappy. Why? Because we don't have the skills to help others. Don't you want to have a mind that is free from all depression, delusion, confusion, anger, blah, 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 all the time? Don't you want to have this mind? Of course. Don't you want to have the skills to be able to help others? Of course. So this is why you are already seeing that you need to act out there. No, you need to meditate on these things so that your mind then goes into that direction, that it becomes just as natural as looking after your own children. So here, the kindness of the mother is used because a mother does more for the child than a child does for the mother. When you see yourself as a bodhisattva, you switch. When you have bodhicitta in your mind, you see the people as your children. Do you see what I mean? Okay. Equalizing ourselves with others. Again, it's just a recognition, mental recognition. You go far too far, you want to be too good. A mental recognition that everybody's happiness is important. Just that fact. Imagine people would generate that thought, would start to understand that. Imagine the world. I'm rich, you're poor. You need money, here it is. That's what the poor expect. You know, this is Tongsa Khyentse Rinpoche who says, when you work, you should work like a capitalist and behave like a socialist.
Communist.
Something like that. And when you know, but it's usually the other way around, kind of you in order to get money, okay, great, get the money, but then as a socialist, in order to help others. That's the Bodhichitta attitude. But usually we work as a socialist, like not doing too much, but then we want to have the money of a capitalist. It's not possible. Yeah? So like this. So this is just to look at our attitudes and to see whether they're helpful. You see, you can go to work with an attitude, I'm going to work so that the boss has his work done. Then whatever work needs to be done, you're happy, you know. And whatever money he gives me, it's okay. As a boss, you should have the attitude, I want to give him as much money as possible. Yeah? Then your job is still the same, but your attitude is totally different. And then we would have happy workplaces. We don't have to change the work, we have to change attitudes. But of course, then we say, as the one who is taking the work, we say, yeah, I work as much as possible if he pays me as much as possible. So we expect the other one to make the step, but we can wait a long time. Yeah. So don't be too afraid, it's okay. It's a serious matter, taking Bodhisattva vows. But the wish to be able to keep them and then to make the promise to never give up working on this and to honor the enormity of the work that lies in front of us, that's what you need. That is what is essential. Okay? So equalizing ourselves with others, that is easy. So we start to see our daily actions. You go on the bus, you sit down, you feel, oh, the seat is not comfortable. What do you do? You change without any thought, but the bus will be full. Somebody will have to sit on this seat. You say, no, I stay. That's how you start. Or you let other people in the train station, the bus station, you let them go first. This is how you start. And then you see that even that is difficult. So I made this lofty promise to give up my body, my possessions, my friends, blah, 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 blah. And I can't even wait to get on the train because I might not get the seat. Well, if the train ride is half an hour, you will survive. And there's not that many long train rides here in Israel. Most is what, 3 hours or something? Yeah. 2. Huh? Carmiel to Beersheba is 2.5 hours. Anyway, let's not argue about this, not so important. You will survive. You will survive. You know, so this is it. So this is how you start. And then slowly, you get this attitude and all of a sudden you see that, oh, because you're purifying your ego stuff, yeah? And you're creating a spacious mind. And all of a sudden you start to see, I can wait, I'm not nervous. At the beginning you're very nervous, you know?
Then it becomes fun.
Then it becomes fun. Then it becomes, actually you get upset when somebody wants you to go first. Yeah, is it this exchanging ourselves for others? So then this concern for happiness, it makes the mind so wide. And we can die with such an easy mind if we work on bodhicitta as we are alive. It's really worthwhile to make the effort. Don't get discouraged too quickly, because otherwise you're stuck again and, you know. Like, you know, we've been following our self-cherishing since beginningless times. Do we have what we want? Are we satisfied? No. So how about we change and we try something new? Isn't it? Come on. You're usually quite courageous, you Israeli people. How come it's like here? Okay, next one. We need to finish. We have 2 more minutes. Wah.
6 now.
6. The disadvantage of cherishing self. That one is really powerful. And this one we can see. So first you think about the person who is full of self-cherishing. Person who is just thinking about him or herself. Do you know somebody like this? Yes or no? What?
Everyone.
Oh, no, not everyone is just only concerned about their happiness. Come on.
How
But
about you, Mayor?
Me, I'm concerned about my happiness. I'm ready to be the victim.
So, but you know people like this. Could you imagine that somebody is thinking about you now? No, isn't it? But you're right, we're all like this. But some to some extent more than others. So take the really exaggerated one, always getting the window seat, always getting the best food, always having his opinion being, pulling at you, da-da-da-da-da-da. So what do we want from others? What do we expect from others? What are our needs that we need from others? Come on, it's not so difficult.
Oh, it's very easy.
Huh?
To see our interests as first.
Respect,
Love.
love,
Generosity.
appreciation, generosity. Yeah, but you have to say so that we're clear. You see these needs that we have. We think we know them, but if we bring them up again and again and again, we see how unrealistic that is. As long as we say it's easy and it's here, we think then, oh, I should feel hurt if they don't get fulfilled. This is why we say these things, to really see how our expectations of others, our standard for other people's what they should do with me, are so high.
Much higher.
And then to lower them and to start to fulfill their needs. And then this is magic. Then you have so much happiness in your life, because then they give you what you want without, even if you don't need it anymore. And also then we make, even as a bodhisattva, you make one step further. It's better for them to respect me, because then they don't create negative karma. It's better for them to be kind to me, because then they create positive karma. Like this. This can be 100% hypocritical, and then you just damage your own mind, or it can be true. Yeah, that you are behaving in a way, and I know this sounds terrible if I say this now. It really sounds as if you're going to manipulate people. And you can use bodhicitta to manipulate people, but you don't have to. It's up to you how you're going to use it. Yeah? Because people, when you do respect them, when you do fulfill their needs, they start to be kind to you. They start to be considered, even in Israel. Once they see that you are not threatening them anymore, that you say, oh, you don't say that you are taking the place of the friar. They don't need to fight anymore because they don't want to be the friar. Life gets so much easier. Being number 2 is so easy. Being number 1 is so difficult. You say, okay, if you want to be lazy, learn to be number 2, but become a bodhisattva. The disadvantage of cherishing self. All our negative karma is created when we think about our own happiness, and all the negative feelings that we have towards ourselves are when we did not think we didn't see what it would do to the other. Yeah? And it makes it impossible for normal people, ordinary people, to respect us, to like us, to be kind to us. They see us, they go like, ooh. Yeah? This is what it does. It separates us from others. It makes us people that you're not fun to be with, because everybody else also has their ego who wants respect and blah, 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 and this and that. Yeah? Now, if you're a bodhisattva, you go and live with these people, and you start to see their loneliness. Why are these people so impossible and so demanding and so nutniki? Why? Because they're unhappy. Because they haven't discovered that happiness is inside, not what I get from others. Because however much you give them, it's never enough. Because they don't know how to give back. They don't know how to love. They have so much self-concern. There we can see the dangers of kind of cherishing ourselves. That you're totally out of reality, actually. And you become very, very, very lonely. Okay, maybe you get every time what you wanted. The window seat, this. But you're lonely, and then you need to become more and more impossible. It's very difficult how, now in your mind already, what do I do with these people? I don't know. I really don't know. But stop hating them. And try to see the disadvantage of cherishing selves, because it's easier to see it in others, and then go inside and then start to look at your own self-cherishing. And we can see with just a bowl of self-cherishing. We're the same, only a bit more moderate because we have some wisdom and we know, oh, I can't go over the top. Then we start to look at the advantage of cherishing self. So when we take these two minds, again, it seems like very calculating. It is calculating. It's to expose the mind in a direct way, what brings suffering and what brings happiness. That's all. Because we want to be happy and we're stuck with this wish to be happy. Yeah? So what's the advantage of cherishing others? All the good things come from it. You see, the same way as like if you are kind to somebody else, that somebody else also is human and wants to repay that kindness. But you shouldn't do it out of that. But if at the beginning to try it out, do it out of that. See what happens. See how you feel when you are kind to others instead of being grumpy. See how you feel when you are only thinking about your own interest. We expose the mind in meditation to weigh this up, so that then it will go the other way. Because at the moment it's going towards the self-cherishing. Then is the actual exchange for others. And this, again, I thought we'd do today, but we do tomorrow. Okay? We do like the Tonglen meditation, because I want to take some time with that. We not actively give our body and our possessions all this. We train the mind to take and to give. And when we take, for example, the suffering of others, we're not taking it because I want this suffering. That's too much ego there, you know. We take it because we liberate the other from the suffering and we give it to our heart, which has this strong crust of fear and self-concern and all this. And then it explodes it. This is why. We want to increase our courage of suffering, because if you have the karma to suffer, you will suffer. So, you know, the biggest part in suffering is that we have fear of suffering. This is what creates most of the suffering. The pain in the body and all this is not so bad. There's one, just to finish, there's one old woman who was dying, and she was asked what she regrets. So she said she regrets having had so many fears in her life. Because when the situation came, and it came often, she said, I had a difficult life, the situation came, but then the fear was gone of the situation because I was in the situation. And I saw this at one point, a young mother who had cancer, and the whole life stopped because of this fear of her dying, and it was clear that she would die, but people couldn't live anymore. Then she died, and the family started to live again, because the fear of her dying had gone. So these kind of fears that, you know, it doesn't help to have them. It doesn't make negative things go away. They are so blocking, but we all have them. So here we open up the heart with this, okay, let it come. Whatever wants to come, let it come. So, but we talk about this tomorrow. So this is this, you know, step 8 and 9, which is love, giving the good things we have. 9, taking whatever is unpleasant from others upon ourselves, exchanging my happiness for the happiness of others. I take their suffering, I give them my happiness. We'll talk more about this tomorrow. Then number 10 is, again, that thought, it's not enough just to do Tonglen. I have to have means to, ways to help them, so I need to attain enlightenment. Again, we'll come to that one, you know. I cannot really liberate them from their suffering. But I can strengthen my heart by doing this. I can increase my courage. And sometimes it works, by the way, but quite rare. That the other feels better. But you see, we do Tonglen because we want the other to feel better. And it's not really the purpose. The purpose is for us to increase the courage to take the suffering. That is the main thing. But it's not to keep it. It's not to keep it.
No.
No.
We use ourselves as filters. The suffering goes in, but it comes out differently. No?
Yeah. But then we shouldn't look kind of, you know, this is it. Everybody loves to do healing meditation. Many people think that when you take the suffering that this is perverse. Yes, it is perverse, but it's done for a certain reason. So it's quite difficult to understand what Tonglen is all about. So point number 10 is you have this extraordinary thought, I want to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. It's the only way I can really benefit them, because I will then know the way out of suffering. And I can show them these methods. And then, point 11, of course, bodhicitta is developed. So these are these 11 points combined with the 2 methods. But if all this is too much, you can really do equanimity, seeing the kindness of others, like people who make it possible for us to survive, seeing the disadvantage of cherishing self, equalizing ourselves for others, exchanging ourselves, seeing the advantage of cherishing others, and then exchanging oneself for others. You can do these points, that's fine. Okay? And if the mother thing is too big and too complicated, then you can leave it out, it's fine. See, the Tibetans, they say, well, if I think about my mother, immediately I go like, oh. And this feeling, this is so difficult for us to say. This is why also the Tibet masters, they have discovered, if they teach us meditation, first they have to teach us how to relax. Because it's a relaxed mind who then sees reality as it is, not a tense mind. Okay? Okay. So we do the dedication, which was... So we still have one day where we can still kind of go into that.
34.
34. Thank you, Nissim. May the Supreme Jewel Bodhicitta, page 34. So again, by saying these things, again, we just nurture the mind. We kind of remind ourselves again, oh yeah, this is what I wanted to do. Yeah, and then the mind again slips into, oh, but I need this. Then again we say this, and then we say, oh yeah, I want to be a bodhisattva. It's such a beautiful thing. It's the most noble thing that a mind can ever do, wanting to be of benefit to all sentient beings. There's nothing that is more noble than that. And we can do it, because we have the potential to do it. And you want to throw this away by saying, ooh, come on. I'm looking at
I was thinking.
What did she say?
I'm telling everybody, don't throw it away. Huh? I look at Shuki. Don't throw it away, Because who knows when we have the opportunity again to be exposed to these things, to have these masters who lived that. His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, Mingyu Rinpoche, Tsogni Rinpoche, all these masters who have trained that for many, many lifetimes. This is why they have this result now. Even in this life, they hear this from very small. They get this with the mother's milk. So then don't put yourself into the position, I have to be like them. You cannot. But be inspired by them. Have this aspiring faith first, like we admire them. Then comes, hey, I want to be like them. This one thing. I don't want to be this self-cherishing, complaining kind of little thing, never being happy and being thrown around, sometimes happy, sometimes sad, Then is this the faith that you want to be like them. Then you start to practice, and then you have real faith because you see that it works. These are these 3 kinds of faith that we develop. May the Supreme Jewel Bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. Then we go to page 35, optional praise of dedication. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha, lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the Supreme Jewel Bodhicitta, we already said it, but it's okay, we can say it twice, that has not arisen, arise and grow. May that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realized things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way. I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best, by the victorious ones thus gone of the 3 times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. Then we go back to 34, the long life prayer for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. In the land encircled by the snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chandresic Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Then the spontaneous fulfilling of all wishes, savior of the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings, who makes extremely clear the path that is unification of emptiness and compassion. To the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. May the I, who doesn't exist from its own side, attain full awakening, who does not exist from its own side, in order to be of benefit to all sentient beings who don't exist from their own side, by myself alone. May whatever I do, whether I have bodhicitta or not, but whatever action I do, may it only be of benefit to others, even if I harm them because I'm overwhelmed by my negative minds. May they be able to transform it into purification of negative karma, patience, bodhicitta, and so on. Whether I'm healthy or sick may be of benefit to others. When I'm sick, then people can care for me, they can look after me. Therefore, they can create a lot of positive karma. When I'm healthy, I'll be able to help them. Whether I'm rich or poor, it doesn't matter. May it only benefit all sentient beings. Yeah, that's it. Very good. That was Amen. Soha. Okay, great. Thank you very much. So hopefully see you tomorrow.